Hey guys, DC here with another video. Today we'll be testing and reviewing the plasma cutter sent in by our friends over at Best Arc. Thank you guys for the opportunity and hope you guys like this video. This plasma cutter is a 220 volt machine but has an adapter to convert to 110 volt. So we'll be testing out both. I'll be cutting up some old scrap metal, which is 1/4 inch angle iron. And also we'll be using some 3/8 flat bar, which is sort of welded together. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. I try and upload videos of all the welding knowledge and experience I've picked up over the years and share with new upcoming welders and also experienced ones. Thank you guys for watching and hope you liked the video. I'll be using my 6500 watt Predator generator from Harbor Freight. This generator has been very reliable and durable in the year or two that I've had it. A good cover and frequent maintenance, it can be a great asset to your setup. Now I know I say this is a 6500 watt generator, but in reality it's a 5500 running watt generator. So you don't really always get 6500 watts when you're running your machine. This pretty much goes for all generators, so just be mindful of what you're buying. Now we'll start getting our plasma cutter set up. The first connection is the air line. This line is simply threaded to your machine and it is what will provide air to your torch. The next connection will be your remote, which will help you control your torch to turn it on or turn it off, simply by pressing the trigger. The third connection will be your pilot arc, which I looked up and it basically means you don't need to make contact with the material to make a cut, making it easier to pierce metal. And your last connection will be your ground clamp. Big thanks to Best Arc for the plasma cutter. It's a great addition to my setup and can't wait to use it in future videos. I'll leave their contact info below in the description if you wish to check them out. I want to talk a little bit about this weld table just because how useful it's been to me. You can order this off Amazon for about 130 bucks, well worth the money. It has taken a good beating from both me and my tools, very sturdy and easy to set up. A little bit awkward to carry, but you get used to it. If you've watched my previous videos, you will know I use this custom-made adapter that connects my 3-prong weld connections to my 4-prong generator outlet. For extensions, I use Harbor Freight 4-prong RV connections. I believe I have a video of those extensions in my weld video playlist. We'll be first testing this machine off 220 power. I'll try to make the same cuts when I switch over to 110 power. I want to thank you guys for all the likes and positive comments you guys have been leaving. Thank you guys very much for subscribing and making this channel grow. It's a really good feeling to know you guys are learning something from these videos, and I'm looking forward to making even more instructional videos in the future. Thank you guys, and don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. This machine comes with about a 5-foot air line, some pipe clamps, and extra contact tips and electrodes. This is my first time testing this machine, so you will see how I figured out to make the connection from the cutter to the compressor. This plasma cutter comes with the water separator already attached onto the machine. I know others, they come separately and must be installed separately. I purchased a 6-gallon 160 psi compressor from DeWalt specifically for this video, but it has also been very helpful to air up tires and use my power tools with. So if you're looking for a new air compressor, you might want to check this one out. First up, I connected the air directly to the cutter and tying it down with the pipe clamp. You could set up a quick disconnect here, but I thought I'd just leave that line permanently on there for future use. I could have easily used my air line I already had set up for my air tools, but I thought I'd try to rig something up with what I was provided with, minus a few fittings I already had in hand. I took 2 male air fittings and threaded them together with a double threaded fitting, then tightened everything down. I'll leave a link to everything I use in the description below just in case you want to check that out. Now we just check for leaks and we're good to go. I connected my compressor to my generator to see how it performs running both cutter and compressor at the same time. Make sure you have air pressure running to your machine, and to adjust the pressure on the machine, simply pull the knob out to adjust, then push it back in to lock it back in place. Now let's power on our generator and start cutting some metal. Everything seems to be powering up just fine. The minimum amps on this machine is 15 amps, and the max is 50 amps. The air pressure on my compressor, I just cranked it up to max just to be safe. I set my machine up to 25 amps and 90 psi. We got power. Now these next few minutes is just me troubleshooting and making adjustments on the machine. I was going to edit this out, but I thought if it'd be helpful to at least one person out there, then I'll talk about it and show it on the video. First adjustment I made was taking off the metal guide ring attached to the torch to prevent you from making contact with the metal and ruining your contact tip. This is good for beginners who don't have a steady hand or eye to keep from making contact and ruining the tip. But it can get in the way when trying to make cuts on awkward shaped material. I started out with 1/4" angle iron and it ran very smoothly. No sputters, no stops. It ran great first try. As you can see, the cuts look fairly smooth and consistent. Not once did the generator bog down or struggle to make these cuts. So far, so good. Next, I moved up to the 3/8 plate that's welded together, and this is where I started having a few issues. At first, I assumed it was because there were two separate plates and maybe it wasn't arcing out correctly. So I focused on cutting off the top plate and trying again on an isolated piece of material. It still cut fine, but I did struggle to keep the arc going. Now we're going to try again on a single piece of 3/8 plate. Again, I was having the same issues and I thought maybe the material was just too dirty or rusty. I even checked my tip to see if the tip was dirty or clogged up. Maybe it was damaged. But the tip looked fine and in working order. I even tried turning up the machine a bit to 30 amps. It actually cut a little bit better when I turned it up, but still felt a little bit off. That's when I realized there was a compressor being connected together with the plasma cutter. So I tried again by connecting the compressor to a different power supply, and everything started running smooth again. Here I'm going to show you how it runs when I have both the compressor and plasma cutter connected to the generator. Now I'll show you what happens when I disconnect the compressor and switch it over to a different power supply. Smooth as butter. Now these are really smooth cuts for it being an off-brand plasma cutter. I would really recommend this plasma cutter to any upcoming fabricators or welders looking for a plasma cutter to add to their setup. Those are really good cuts. Now we'll be switching over to 110 power using our adapter. To switch over from 220 volt to 110 volt, you simply power off the machine, connect the adapter that is provided, and the machine will automatically switch to 110 volt. Now here I'm going to take the time to explain the machine's features. Where it's labeled air, that will keep the air blowing out of the torch, sort of like an air gun, until you switch it back to cut. Where it's labeled 2T, that function allows you to start and maintain an arc as long as you keep the trigger pressed. Where it's labeled 4T, this feature allows you to start and maintain an arc by simply pressing the trigger and letting go, sort of like a hold trigger. Where it's labeled PT, this feature allows you to adjust your post-flow air, minimum time being 3 seconds and maximum time being 15 seconds. Now let's try our first cut with 110 power. So it started out smooth on this 1/4" angle, but after a few inches, the breaker popped on the generator and I lost power. I was running at 30 amps, so I decided to turn it down a bit. Maybe it was draining too much power. I turned it down to 20 amps and started again. It started cutting pretty well and I did get a few cuts in, but it still wasn't running as smooth when I was running it on 220 power. After a few more cuts on this 1/4 inch angle, the breaker popped once again. So in the end, I figured running on 220 power would be more reliable than running on 110. Well, in my case at least. Some of you might have a better source of power and may have better luck running on 110. Let me know in the comments below if you run this machine on 110 or any other plasma cutter. This last clip is just showing the performance of running on 220 isolated power with the compressor on a different source of power. I'm running this at 30 amps and 80 psi for air pressure. This cutter performed very well and I'm excited to use it in future jobs and projects. I want to thank our friends again from Best Art for letting us review this plasma cutter. I'm very happy and impressed with this performance. I also want to thank you guys again for subscribing to my channel and for all the kind comments. We finally reached 1,000 subs. Yeah! Glad you guys are learning something new from our videos and stay tuned for the next video. Also, thank you guys for your patience. I know I don't come out with as much video as I should, but just know I'm trying my best to create new content and I'm going to deliver. Next video, we'll be testing out the stick welding function on the Yes Welder Flux 135, and I have some pretty good arc shots of that, so stay tuned for that. Stay safe out there, and remember, no matter what, keep it pushing. Peace.